Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of the Brett Allen Show. And we have a very special guest today. I'm excited, Kevin Bigley. We're going to talk about all kinds of things. Thank you so much for your time and hanging out today. I appreciate it.
No, thanks for having me, man. I'm super stoked.
Well, I know you're in the middle of filming Upload, season 3. Now, I will say we've had several of your cast members on: Andy, Allegra. We've had Greg Daniels. And we just recently had Paulo Costanzo.
Hey!
And he had so many good things to say about you. I think part of our interview was about 10 minutes just talking about his experience on set with you and everybody else. And he's like, he said something really funny. He's like, have you had Kevin on? And I said, well, we've tried, but it's just the schedules have been crazy. He's hilarious, by the way. But I'm glad we were able to get this done. I know you're in the middle of filming, and probably not much, if anything, that you can discuss, but are you excited, for a third season and for people to sort of catch up with you and your storyline and what's happening?
Yeah, I'm really excited for this season. And I know that would be kind of a stock cliche answer because I'm excited to be working, and that we got another season, but I legitimately, honestly believe that this season is our best one yet. And again, that sounds stock and cliche, but it is very true. I think we've really kind of, like there was some separation in regards to what we had to do with COVID last season.
Yeah.
There was like the Lud camp and then what was going on with Lakeview, and there were these two separate worlds. And I think it took a little bit to get everybody back together. Now, it was an obstacle that we had to have, not only because of COVID stuff, because you had to separate people up, but also story-wise, we had to explore that. And I think we did it the best that we could. But I think what's really interesting to me is how things are meshing with Nathan being in the real world with Nora, and what's going on with my character now that Nathan's not there. There's a backup that's obviously being potentially rebooted. There's all of this interesting story stuff. Nothing that I'm spoiling at the moment, but it's some really cool stuff that we're exploring that I think makes for really fun, interesting TV, and our best season thus far.
Yeah, I mean, I think that your co-star Paulo said the same thing, and even when I talked to Greg at the beginning of the year for that run of season 2, he said something very similar. In the fact, if we get a third season, which I think he knew at the time, but couldn't say. He said some of the same things very similarly that you just mentioned. It's funny. I want to sidetrack here for a second because I went and saw a movie this weekend. Don't Worry, Darling. Have you seen that yet?
I really want to see it.
Well, the reason I ask is I was watching this film and it very familiarly reminded me of Upload. I don't know if somebody on that movie has worked on your show, but it's very similar. I just thought I would ask as a side note. I think what your concept here that you guys have is very good. With you working and filming now, is there something that you kind of want a way you would like to see your character or other characters go? Do you have any kind of input at this point with that, or is it just kind of like, hey, this is what we've got, and or maybe a dream scenario for your character, I guess?
I think they're really putting Luke through some interesting things this season that I'm really excited about. We're about midway through as of right now for shooting the third season, and it's just kind of they're really exploring Luke at the lengths to which he will go for Nathan and for his friends, and what happened, how kind of vulnerable he actually is, how badly he needs people, which he depends on people, and he's kind of like a dog in that way, in a lot of ways, like a human Labrador that but in this season he's one without an owner because he just doesn't have anyone to devote his energy to because Alicia's so busy and Nathan has downloaded, so he's just left by himself, and it kind of makes him spiral and go insane. And I think too, it's like he's one of these guys that is so interesting because he's so energetic and he's so happy, and happy-go-lucky, but he's had real trauma. I mean, he killed himself to get there. So
Yeah.
I think you start to kind of dip into that with his character of what's at stake a lot of the times for him, that if you stop spinning the plate, it'll fall, and that's the plate is his sanity. So if he doesn't find a game, and if he doesn't have a friend to share his time with, then he can get pretty lonely and he can get pretty dark. So there's some interesting darkness and sadness coming up for Luke that I think kind of rounds him out as a character.
Yeah, and I think people are ready for that. I mean, I feel like this show is so relatable, and even just the concept of it, loosely based ideas on PC games and what would life look like, just you have such a smart crew writing for you, and your showrunner and creator, of course, Greg Daniel. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. You've done a lot of projects and been a part of a lot of great things. Where did the journey begin for you, Kevin, as a storyteller, and sort of what interested you and was the gateway into the industry for you?
I think, it's multi-pronged as far as an answer, as where you got your start, the easy one and the furthest back being, when I was a kid, just kind of doing some Shakespeare and stuff when I was like 13 years old. 14 years old, I did Midsummer Night's Dream, and I was like, oh man, this is really cool. It was one of the few things that I felt like, I guess, special doing, sure. Where I had a knack for it, and I really wanted to work hard at it. And then it was when I got into college at the DePaul program, the Goodman School, and started doing theater. And then it was, again, I was just kind of paint by numbers. I didn't want to try because I thought it was kind of ridiculous and a little too look at me,
Sure.
Pretentious and narcissistic. So I was always kind of scared about being that kind of kid. But then I did Shakespeare, and I had a teacher, Catherine Widener, who really opened me up to that and really kind of made me own my performance, which was really cool. So that I did play Richard III. That really opened me up, and I realized that I had my kind of blue collar work ethic really played well into the acting stuff, because I could use that same work ethic to, I don't know, learn my lines and do character research and all that stuff. So I kind of cracked that code for myself. And then once I got out into the world, I started doing some theater and stuff and worked for Steppenwolf, but I really cared about my film and television auditions, and I ended up getting really close on some things. And then the first year I booked a pilot for Fox with Vince Vaughn as the creator and director and writer, and that was really cool. I was like a lead, so he really helped me out, and that was success early on like that with a comedy icon such as Vince was and is. Wow. Really kind of validated my skill set and my belief in myself, and he really just kind of pushed me to keep going, and also told me that it wasn't going to be an easy road, that it's not, that pilot didn't get picked up, and he was just like, this is going to keep happening, this is the world. this is the career. Yeah. Success, failure, success, failure, success, failure. Yeah. I mean, I did a pilot in 2012 for Greg, and which was really cool, and it had Tony Shalhoub and Allison Janney and Aya Cash, Gil Lazare. It was great. They were adapting Friday Night Dinner, and that was the pilot, Friday Night Dinner. So that was another British show that they, and here's Greg, who just did The Office. So it was like, oh, this is
going,
especially with this cast. Tony Shalhoub, Allison Janney are the parents, and I was one of the sons. You're like, oh man, this is big. And it just didn't go, because that's my dog.
That's okay. It's so good. That just people love the reality of the world that we're in these days.
I know, this
fantastic.
Is it right
I appreciate your time. Oh, good looking dog, and much success to you. Everything that you've gotten has just been well deserved, and I appreciate your candor in the fact that this is a job. The job is going to the audition and booking the room, and then and those pilot deals too, I've heard from other actors, can be a bit tumultuous sometimes, because you're like, this is a given, and then it's like womp, it doesn't make it past
Well, yeah, and
the
like
screening room.
that's the thing is that it starts off, I had that Greg pilot in 2012, and I was like, you're being told by the makeup department that they're like, oh, this is gonna go. Everyone's telling you buy your house. I'm 25, and then it doesn't go. But that's like Vince was saying, that's the career because look, I did a good job. I worked really hard on that pilot. I came prepared. I did all my work on my lines, and I wasn't a jerk. And what happens is Greg wants to work with me again, and it's about that job, but it's about the next job. So
Yeah.
then you get hired. I get hired on this. He really believed that I could do this, and maybe if he had met me before, maybe he would have given me that shot, but it certainly helped that I had made a good impression that first time around. So
Yeah,
that's just,
it's awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. I know you're filming and you've got a lot going on, but I appreciate you making time, and I'm excited to see what this next season holds for you and your castmates. I love the show. Very exciting stuff.
well, awesome, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you.